Hey y'all, so we're going to cover the operations on polynomials. Polynomial, we're going to start with the basics, adding and subtracting, and then I'll make a couple other videos to help support you in the polynomial pieces. A polynomial is just where you take a single term, or so it can be just one term, or it can be a sum. Sum means add, or difference is subtract, and we discussed this before, to where you're adding and subtracting terms containing variables with whole numbers, exponents, but they're not negative or fractional. The exponents can't be negative, and the exponents cannot be fractions. All right. So the exponent is the number up in the top here. The x is the base, the 2 is the exponent. And that's what it's referring to. A monomial would mean you only have one term. Mono means one. Binomial means you would have two terms. Bi means two. And then trinomial means you have three terms. These are all polynomials. Okay, so these are all different terms for polynomials. So it can be a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, and then after that, you're just going to say polynomial for all of them. Okay, those are the only ones that, and I usually don't even use the word monomial. I'll say binomial a lot and trinomial. So those are the two that you're going to want to be comfortable in understanding that I'm talking about two terms or three terms. All right, so that's just to understand where the communication piece. A degree is just for a single term. A degree is the exponent on the variable. So if, let's just say that 5x is a single term that we're referring to here. The degree is the exponent for that x. Now, right now, you don't see an exponent, right? It can't be zero because anything to the zero power with a zero exponent is one. And that can't be the case here because the x is being represented. So if there is an x, there has to be at least a 1 in that exponent. And the degree is the highest exponent for a polynomial. And in this case, it would be 1. But if we were to look at this entire trinomial, the highest exponent, the largest exponent is 2. So the degree for this exponent would be 2. All right, that's just something you need to understand. It's the highest exponent for the polynomial is the degree. You will be doing that a lot if you are going into college algebra trig. That's in like our second, I'll talk about it from the beginning. If you go into 1590, those of you going into problem solving or statistics will not be utilizing that. All right, but we're going to use it for this class. So this class is covering a lot of stuff. Classify each monomial, one term, binomial, two terms, or trinomial, three terms, and give the degree of the polynomial. So I'm going to do the first one, and then I want you to pause the video, go attempt the other ones yourselves, and then come back to see how you did. There's one that's a little trick. So I will understand if you just pause, but always give yourself a chance to figure it out. All right. So looking at this binomial here, we've got two terms. And the question is classify, oh, well, it's a binomial because there's two terms. And the degree is the highest or largest exponent, which is 5. It's odd. All right, the next one, go ahead and pause the video and attempt the rest of them yourself. The next one is one term. I don't care that it's a 10 and then the x squared. This is still one term because they're multiplied. If there was a plus or a minus in between two terms, then that would make it a binomial. But because everything's multiplied, this is a monomial. And the degree is again the exponent 2. Now here's the trick one. There is no, first of all, it's a monomial because there's only one term. But second of all, there's no x. Now, remember earlier I told you that if there is no x, that means x would be to the 0 power because anything to the 0 power is 1. So this would be 9 times 1, which is 9. So your degree is 0. All right. And I'm going to write this. Anything to the 0 power is 1. All right. If you haven't done it yet, please go attempt these. We have 1, 2, 3 terms. So this is trinomial. And the highest exponent is 2. So the degree is 2. And then the last one here, you've got 1, 2, 3 terms. Again, another trinomial. And be careful, they're out of order. And I do this on my exams as well. I've seen me do it. The highest exponent is not 2. We're not going from highest to lowest. The highest exponent is 5. So the degree is 5. All right. As you're going through this packet, please make sure that you write down any questions you have for me. We can always meet up and have a quick Zoom call to discuss any questions you have. I want to make sure you understand it. Adding and subtracting polynomials. So we're going to simply combine like terms. We've been doing this all along now. Just remember that like terms must contain the same variables to the same exponent in order to be considered like. If subtracting, it may be safer to distribute the negative through the second polynomial first, and I'll explain that. That's just distribution. So you don't want any parentheses. And what this means is if subtracting, that they're assuming there's a negative here. Well, we don't have that here. So because there's no subtraction here, we can just ignore the parentheses. So I'm going to do this. Parentheses are gone. And now we can just combine like terms. So the negative 7x squared, here's an x squared, here's an x squared. Okay, here's an x, so I'm putting 2 lines. Here's an x, 2 lines. And then here's constant, and here's a constant. Please note that my lines reflect which ones we can combine. This one has x squared, this one has x squared, so I only put 1 line. You decide which you want to do to make sure that you understand which ones you can and cannot combine. So negative 7 plus 2, if you don't know to do subtract and take the sign of the largest, put it in your calculator. So negative 7 plus 2 is, the difference is 5. Sign of the larger number is negative, x squared. Then we've got 8x plus x is 9x. Remember, there's always an assumed 1 right there. Can't be a 0 because then x wouldn't be there. And then 3 plus 8 is 11. And that is my trinomial with a degree of 2. I'm going to put this note here because I didn't put on the last one, and I want to make sure you understand. If there is an addition here, this means add. So drop the parentheses and combine like terms. Support yourself by writing the notes of whatever makes sense to you with what I'm saying. I don't expect you to write down exactly what I'm saying. I'm just giving you the tools so that you don't have to think through the entire process. Write what makes sense to you, to where you're understanding that when this is an addition between these 2 binomials that you are going to add, so you can just drop the parentheses and combine like terms. We're not going to have this case here in just a moment. All right, so because we're just dropping the parentheses, and now we're going to combine like terms. Here's an x squared, x, and x. 7 plus 3 is 10, x squared. Negative 11 minus 1 is, the signs are the same, so you add and keep the sign. So minus 12x. If you don't know these little rules, write them down as I say them. When the signs are the same, like the 7 and the 3, they're both positive. When the signs are the same, you add, which we did, and you keep the sign, which is positive. When the signs are the same, you add and you keep the sign. That's just it whenever you're adding and subtracting. Not multiplying or dividing. Again, we've got an addition here. So we're just going to drop the parentheses and combine like terms. I'm going to come over here and do this one. Give myself a little room. All right, we've got a y cubed. Oh, okay. So there's only one of those. There's only one y squared. All right, so I'm going to ignore this one. 3y and 5y, 10 and negative 22. So 3 plus 5 is 8. Signs are the same. You add and keep the sign. And then 10 minus 22 is negative 12. You subtract and take the sign of the largest. 22 minus 10 is 12. Sign of the largest is negative. This would be a polynomial with a degree of 3. Okay. Let's go to the next one. It is add. We're going to drop the parentheses. Ooh, combining them now. And combine like terms. So there's x cubed, xy, xy, y squared, y squared. So remember, this is a 1 in front of the x cubed. So 1 plus 6 is 7. 7xy minus xy. Remember, there's a 1 here. So 7 minus 1 is 6xy. And then negative 5y squared plus 4, the signs are different. So you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. You can choose to leave that 1 there, or you don't have to have it there at all. And this is a trinomial with a degree of 3. All right. Actually, you couldn't even do this one because they would need to have the same term. So, all right, next one is 7y to the 5th. We're adding again and combining like terms. 7y to the 5th minus 3y cubed plus y squared plus 2y cubed minus y squared minus 4y minus 3. All right, y to the 5th, there's only 1. Just bring that down. Y cubed, we've got. Y squared, we have. And then we've got only these two here. So negative 3y cubed plus 2y cubed is going to be, signs are different. So you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. 1y squared minus y squared, well, those are gone. And then negative, just bring these down, negative 4y minus 3. Another polynomial. All right, here's where you need to be careful. You cannot just drop the parentheses and combine like terms. This is where, because this is subtraction, you have to distribute this negative. This is the same thing as like having a negative 1 on the outside. You have to multiply this. So you're going to distribute and combine like terms. Because this is a subtraction sign. So I'm going to bring this one down. And then I'm going to distribute the negative. A negative times a positive is a negative 5x squared. A negative times a negative is a positive 6x. Now that I've distributed it, I can combine like terms. 3x squared minus 5x squared is you subtract them and take the sign of the larger number. Negative 2x plus 6x. Well, 6 minus 2 is positive 4x. You got a binomial out of that, the degree of 2. Okay, attempt this next one. This next one's yourself. Distribute your negative, combine like terms. Hopefully you're doing that without me having to say so. So I'm just going to bring the 2n squared minus n to the 7th minus 6. And now I'm going to distribute that negative to all 3 terms. Negative times positive is a negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. and then negative times a negative is a positive. We've got, let's go with our highest exponents first. These are gone. And then I've got 2n cubed, negative 2n cubed, plus 2n squared. Nothing combining on these. And then, oh, here we got negative 6 plus 8. Signs are different, so we subtract and take the sign of the larger number. All right, last one. Again, pause and attempt it and then come back. So x cubed minus y cubed. We're going to distribute that negative to all four terms. Negative times a negative is a positive, 6x cubed. Negative times a positive is a negative, x squared y. Negative times a negative is a positive, xy squared. And negative times a positive is a negative 2y cubed. All right, we have x cubes, y cubes, and then these two are gone. They cancel each other out. So x cubed plus xx cubed, remember there's a 1 here, so that's 7x cubed. Negative y cubed, again, there's a 1. Negative 1 minus 2, the signs are the same, so we add them and keep this common sign. End up with a binomial out of that. Oh, that was it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.